Now our topic is tips for improving presentation skills. We will discuss here some of the tips which will help us in improving our presentation skills. The first is define your objectives. Define your purpose and objectives. Second tip is understand your audience. And the third is manage time. Fourth tip is adaptability. Fifth is use body language and voice effectively. Next is engaging your audience with storytelling and language. Seventh is dealing with hecklers and negative feedback. Eighth tip is handling difficult questions and challenges from your audience. Next is structure your presentation. 10th is selecting the right visuals for your presentation. 11th is overcoming nervousness and anxiety while giving the presentation. And the 12th is practice delivering presentation. And the 13th tip is identify the areas which require improvement and developing an action plan accordingly. Now we will discuss each of these tips one by one. First is define your purpose and objective of the presentation. Before you start creating your presentation, you should be very much clear in your mind as to what is the purpose of your presentation and what are those objectives which you want to achieve with your presentation. If you define the purpose and objectives of presentation, this will help you to stay focused and ensure that your presentation is relevant to your audience. Next tip is understand your audience. When we are creating a presentation, we should understand our audience needs, interests, and the preferences of the audiences. This will help us to tailor our message to the expectations of the audience, and we will be in a position to engage our audience effectively. Next tip is manage time. We should be very much careful in regard to the utilization of time. We should be mindful of the clock and make sure that you have enough time to cover all the points you want to make or discuss in your presentation. If you have to cut the conversation short, do so in a polite and professional manner. Next tip for effective presentation is adaptability. While giving a presentation, there may be some unexpected situations which the presenter may have to encounter with, such as there may be some technical difficulties or there may be some audience interruption when we are giving our presentation. So the presenter should be in a position to adapt to the unexpected situations. Next tip is use body language and voice effectively. While giving the presentation, we should use our body language to show that we are confident. We should stand tall, make eye contact, and use gestures to emphasize our points. Make sure that the gestures are consistent with our message. We should use facial expressions to convey emotion and emphasize the key points. We should smile wherever appropriate. We should speak clearly and slowly. If we speak too quickly or too quietly, then the audience will not be in a position to understand what we want to convey them. Use movement to engage your audience and emphasize your points. While giving the presentation, we should vary our tone and pace. We should use a faster pace and higher pitch for exciting or emotional moments. And while giving the presentation, we should use a slower pace and a lower pitch for more serious moments. Next tip is engaging audience with storytelling and language in presentation. We should use stories and anecdotes to illustrate our points and make our presentation more memorable. We should use humor to help break the ice and lighten the mood. Humor can help you to connect with your audience and make your presentation more enjoyable. Use humor that is appropriate to the topic and the audience. Third tip to engage your audience is use simple language. If we use complex language or the technical terms, the audience will not be in a position to understand what you are saying. So we should use simple and concise language that is easy to follow. Further, to engage our audience, we should seek feedback from the audience. Requesting feedback or using interactive elements like polls, quizzes can help us you in engaging audience. You might have seen that when there is a program running live on television, they usually put before you some quizzes that when the India became independent, and there are four options, and they are they are asking the audience to give the reply, and the person who will give the correct reply will be shown, his name will be shown on the television. This is the type of the marketing plan that they want to attract or keep the audience engaged so that the maximum public can view their program. So in the same way, when we are giving a presentation to our audience, we can give them certain options or ask for certain polls that what should be done in the particular circumstances, and we can ask for certain questions from them. Then handle questions and challenges effectively. Listen carefully to what the audience is saying, and we should restate the question, and we should give the answer to the audience concisely and accurately. If as a presenter we do not know the answer, be honest and offer to follow up later. Next point is use examples and case studies to illustrate your points and make them more understandable. seventh tip to engage our audience is use active voice and not passive voice. Use of active voice makes your message more clear and direct. Next, use rhetorical questions to engage your audience and encourage them to think about your message. A question asked in order to make a point rather than to get an answer, mostly it is asked to make a persuasive point. The example of a rhetorical question is, have you ever wondered why some companies consistently outperform their competitors in the marketplace even in difficult times? The purpose of this question is not to seek any reply from the audience, but to make a point that the audience thinks about this question in their mind and they will be engaged in the presentation with you. Next point is use analogies to help your audience understand your message to a deeper level. That is a comparison between one thing and another thing, typically for the purpose of explanation or clarification. For example, marketing is like fishing. You need the right bait to attract the right fish, and you need to be patient and persistent to catch them. In marketing, the bait is your messaging and your target audience is the fish you are trying to reach. Now the topic before us is how to deal with hecklers and negative feedback, and the second topic which we will touch is handling difficult questions and challenges from your audience. Now first we will look into how to deal with hecklers and negative feedback. First we will understand the meaning of heckler. Heckler is someone who interrupts a speech or performance by shouting out comments, criticism, often in a rude or aggressive manner. So it is a person who wants or who interrupts the speech or the performance. So how to deal with such a person during presentation? Dealing with hecklers and negative feedback can be a challenging situation for any presenter or speaker. In case of negative feedback or hecklers, the presenter should take a deep breath, pause for a moment, and then respond to it calmly and respectfully. If appropriate, the presenter should use humor to diffuse the situation and lighten the mood. Next is, don't take negative feedback personally. That is, we should treat it lightly, or we can think over the feedback at a later stage to improve our performance if such is the case. Acknowledge the comment or question and steer the conversation back to your main topic. When we are dealing with hecklers or negative opportunity, if we handle such a situation meticulously, then that is an opportunity to showcase your professionalism composure and expertise as a speaker. That is, if we are able to handle that situation properly, we will be in a position to showcase our ability as a proper presenter or a proper speaker. Now the question before us is how to handle difficult questions and challenges from our audience during the presentation. Next point, now the answer is be prepared. When we are to give presentation, before that we should anticipate the likely questions or the challenges that may arise during the presentation, and we should be prepared with responses that are accurate, relevant and concise. If the situation arises that we do not have the answer to the question which has been put forward by the audience, we should be honest and we should give the offer to follow up later. Next tip to handle the difficult question is active listening. We should listen carefully to the entire question before responding. If we give response to the audience before listening to him completely, it is quite likely that we may give wrong answer or we may give the answer which is not according to the situation, even though we know the complete answer. We should repeat the question or we should ask clarifying questions. It will show that you respect the perspective of the audience and you are interested in addressing the concern of the audience. Next is staying calm. If an audience member challenges your presentation and disagrees with your viewpoint, remain calm and composed. We should not become argumentative with the audience. We should respond to the audience in a respectful and professional manner. And we should not take the challenge personally. Next is we should provide evidence and examples to support our response. Fifth is stay focused. Sometimes the audience members may try to derail your presentation because there are circumstances that some of the persons do not want that you are in a position to give your representation properly. They will ask you unrelated questions or they will make comments. Stay focused on the topic which is before you, and you should redirect the conversation back to the presentation. Next point is acknowledge different perspectives and opinions, even if do not agree with them. Suppose you think that you are 100% correct what you are speaking during the presentation, and you know that the other person from the audience is knowingly asking wrong questions, but you should acknowledge the perspective of the audience or his opinion. It will show that you are an open-minded and can see different sides of an issue. Because during the presentation, being argumentative will not serve any purpose. You have to handle the situation in a tactful manner. Seventh point is thanking the audience. We should thank the audience for their questions and challenges. This shows that you value their participation and input which they have given during the presentation. Thanks for watching. If you like our course, please spare some time to give a star rating to our course.